Yes, 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 yes. A pleasant good evening to everybody out there in listening and viewing land. It's tough forum coming back at you one more again for the midweek catch up for the Wednesday Wagwan. It's been a busy weekend, folks. Hope everyone enjoyed their long weekend. What a weekend it was. We had everything in the mix. We had um, mini tornado. Didn't last too long, but yeah, even my car was smashed. Just going through a Rona store, and it was calm until I got in there. And I mean, it could have been worse. I'm giving thanks to God because I have. I'm fortunate to have a second vehicle that my wife's not working in the office right now, so still got a windshield problem to fix. But we weren't in the car, and it's just metal. And thank God that we're safe. But just driving through that weekend on Saturday and seeing all the trees down and cars damaged and houses damaged, it was just to see God's hand and how God works. His power is so beyond us. But here we are for the Wednesday Wagwan, the midweek catch up, and over the weekend also seemed like we had typhoons of shootings and hurricanes of shooting. Oh yeah, another mass shooting took over the news cycle. But before I get into that, let's talk about what happened. So it was our long weekend holiday, our May 2-4 weekend. And of course, that entails fireworks, going to certain areas and just taking the fireworks. But of course, we had a shooting, we had a stabbing, and two robberies at gunpoint. They were all reported on Sunday as a large crowd gathered at Woodbine Beach. And this is a place where they let off fireworks every year. And that was on the Sunday, and we were supposed to go down there the Monday night. And after hearing that news, um, I mean, we were busy anyway that we probably weren't going to make it, but it's just chilling to think you could be just, going for a nice gathering to see something spectacular like fireworks, and, you can be held up at gunpoint. And one person was actually stabbed in and somebody else violently hurt. We had youths shooting Roman candles, which are fireworks, shooting at houses, shooting at police officers. One was actually injured by that, and 19 individuals, I believe, were arrested on those little charges there. So it was a violent weekend, and I think also in Scarborough, I believe it was, where somebody was on a bike, a woman, and she got stabbed in her back a couple times, multiple times by an individual. So violence still persisting. There's so many things to talk about, but we're gonna talk about the big elephant in the room, and that's another mass shooting. I heard on the news, I couldn't believe it. I think we're up to something like 60 mass shootings already for the year, and we're only in May. That's crazy. That's mind blowing. But nonetheless, guns are still an issue, and we still have this divide between people who are for the gun and those who want to ban the guns, and that's where we are. So just last week, I believe it was, or Was it a week? My gosh, where we had the mass shooting in Buffalo, where 11 individuals were shot. I believe in 13 were shot, 11 died. We found out and knew that it was a racially motivated incident. Now, this one is a little bit more vague because simply we don't even know who um, the shooter. We don't know too much about the shooter. More than that, he was an 18-year-old shooter. Went into a school, but before that, though, let me take it back. We found out the shooter shot his grandmother, then drove to a school, elementary school where you have young children, not even teenagers yet, or somewhere, and 19 people were shot, including a teacher, killed, and the gunman himself was killed. So we see a pattern happening here, somewhere in that 18-year-old range. And yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit tonight. You see, in Canada, we have different laws. Our laws are a little more stringent, a little more severe, a little more serious, and I believe, take the gun situation for legal gun owners, that is, very serious over here. I'm not going to be one that fights against the legal gun owners, though I have my own opinions about guns and where they belong. But over here, you have to have bullets separate. It has to be locked up. You have to take it to the gun range, shoot it off, and then lock it back up and then bring it back home and those type of things, keep it safe. In the United States, however, we have different laws. We have open carry. We have laws such as right to bear arms. We have um, stand your ground laws. I mean, there's just so much laws. It's like everyone has a gun in the States. And, I want to talk about this for a while because I keep hearing people saying the same thing, that they're tired of hearing this. It's enough is enough. I hear these little cliches, and I really feel the passion when they say it. My problem is, and we're gonna have this debate on and off or all the time between don't touch my gun, ban guns, right? So the Pandora's box has already been opened since the gun is manufactured and it's made. Some people say it's not the gun that kills, it's the person behind the gun. I beg to differ and say, well, if you take away the gun, you have a person. Now that person can kill with something else, but the gun is so lethal that, I mean, if I take away the gun and the person's still there, we have a person to deal with, probably better to contain. You take away the person and you have the gun can't fire by itself. So there you go, right? You can have your own debate, it's arguable. But with the laws being so different in these two countries, and we're just neighbors, you know, I heard Steve Kerr last night or this morning as I was going to work and I was listening to the news, and he made a passionate plea. I felt him on that, man. I felt it. I heard him. He was saying, he was adamant to say, listen, what are we doing here? And enough is enough. And he's tired of hearing these talk. And he was calling out senators and lawmakers. But you know what really boggled my mind is that while all these people, even the Vice President Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and all these other people who were talking about these incidents and these mass shootings, no one seemed to mention the the use of these firearms. Like we're talking AR-15s and crazy assault rifles. Like, I mean, what? Okay, let me get back. Let me slow down. So what Steve Kerr was talking about was these lawmakers and how 97% of the voters in the United States and I guess around the world believe in this thing called the universal um, background check. And I guess the universal background check, or saying that someone is legitimate um, to own a gun or to purchase a gun, to me, is just a tip of the iceberg. For here we have an 18-year-old, just like the last shooting in Buffalo, someone who's 18. I mean, they just turned adult, and the first thing they decide to do is to go and get a gun. And because it's so easily accessible, I mean, not a lot of people, not everyone has a record or a juvenile record or has a record. So for them to get a background check, it would probably check out anyway. So that doesn't stop them from getting a gun. I wish Steve Kerr and others would go further, because a lot of these people, why they're not, they're gun owners themselves. And I'm sure they're probably responsible gun owners. However, the fact that guns are so accessible, the fact that guns are so, visible and so readily available at everyone's disposal in certain places, you just have to be 21. Even in the state of Texas, in certain areas in Texas, you just have to be 21. It doesn't even say you have to have a background check. So that means you could be someone who's already been an offender, but you're 21. It's almost like saying, well, you're 21, you can drink liquor now. So you're 21, hey, you can have a gun now. And not thinking about the repercussions of that and what's going to happen once an 18-year-old says, I have the right to, or I have the privilege to go and get a gun. It's like, it's not the same as I'm going to go buy a six pack. It's like, now I'm going to buy a gun that can take someone's life. And so the universal ban for me is just a tip of the iceberg. We need to go beyond that and say, listen, you see, this is the debate that we're going to have: ban guns. But why do you need an assault rifle? Why is an 18-year-old, have the right, or is permissible to have a AR-15, an assault rifle, something that you see only in war movies or soldiers carrying? What are you trying to cut down? Oh my goodness. Then we hear them talking so much about gun control. And my question really is this: what about the person who turned 18 or 21 and they're legally able to get a gun? They have no criminal record. They're fairly new. They haven't even been in the system. They're gonna get a gun. And then they go to commit a mass shooting like we saw here. What happens to that? That universal um, background check didn't really do anything more than say, okay, he's okay to get the gun. So it seems like we're okay, or it seems like in the United States, they're okay with checking the box. Well, I sold this gun and it was legally sold. I gave this person and he was in their rights legally to own a gun, and that's it. The rest is out of my hands. And I think that's foul. I think that's a cop out. I think that's not going far enough where the responsibility or the accountability on lawmakers should go. I think lawmakers need to make this thing a little bit more than just a background check. Why do you need a gun? And where are you using this gun? And okay, if you're even able to have a gun, then do like what you see over here in Canada. Make sure you don't have the bullets together. You travel to the range and back, right? Since you don't want to touch the guns. But that's the age-old question that we keep having here, and that's the problem. And today we're talking about another mass shooting just a week ago, just in the space of a week. So when I talk about gun control, when I hear them talk about gun control, please somebody tell me, what does it mean when you say gun control? Like, what is that? Is there really such a thing as gun control? Um, you take away the guns, or you don't touch my gun. What is gun control? Is it to say I control who is able to acquire a gun, and that is the level of control we're talking about? Because if that's gun control, then there's no control there. Because like I just said, someone can have a clean record, get a gun, and the next day just have a massacre, create a massacre somewhere, and that just blows your universal check situation out the door. So people, we're in a time right now where, oh man, the gun situation is out of control. In one particular area I heard today, I believe, of course, it's in the States again, where a particular town, you have to have a gun. Once you're living in that town, you must have a gun. Can you tell me, can you imagine that? One of the requirements of you coming here is, yes, you got good credit, you got you keep your lawn clean, and yes, you gotta have a gun. Wow. Because they believe in policing their own communities. And this is terrible. This is terrible. Gun culture, the right to bear arms in the United States is just an open door ticket, I think, for people to say, I have access to a gun and I can do what I want with it. I think more responsibility has to be put on the person acquiring the gun. And I believe lawmakers need to really take a look in the mirror and see what kind of arsenal they're putting into people's hands to cut down children. We're talking about here, children. Like, is it gonna take that it's your child, lawmakers, that gets cut down before you say, whoa, I need to change anything? Because they're silent today. And so, it's just a continuous cycle. And unfortunately, it may not be the last. And some have said for sure it's not going to be the last. And that's a sad thing. So going forward, folks, just watch out and see what's happening, because I truly believe there's an uprising happening, and it's those who has the guns, and it's going to be kill or be killed. And I don't know, are we going back to the wild, wild west? I mean, we're talking about things that you see in the streets, but now you just have to be, I mean, in a place of education and get shot down, in a place of worship and get shot down. You're not safe because guns are too prevalent. And you can say I'm bashing guns, but I don't care. Guns kill, and people will argue with me that it's people that kill. But I will go back to the same argument. You take away that gun out of the hands that kill, and they don't have that weapon to kill so easily and so rapidly and so in multiple amounts. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. That's the midweek catch up, the Wednesday Wagwan. And the Wagwan is that we need to really know what is going on with these lawmakers. What is going on with the powers that be? Because you got to give your head a shake. I mean, you got to give your head a shake. 60 mass shootings in just, we're in May, 3 months, not even a quarter of the year. Hmm. So we got mass shootings, we got people stabbing people, pushing people off a platform. Still, men are dying. Men are killing. Men seem to be killing machines. We need to change this. This is the conversation. What do we do? What do we do about the gun? And what do we do when people say, I'm taking away their fun, or we're taking away their fun because of the fringe few? And these few seem to be more and more. I'm of the mindset that if you went out and were able to get a gun, your mind can always be corrupted, especially if you're in a place where you can freely carry your gun loaded, if you can freely have the right to bear arms. I'm grateful I'm in a country right now that our laws are not like the United States. For if it were, I'm sure we would have way more mass shootings rather than just, one on one, or not that any's better. But I'm giving thanks for now because until the lawmakers give their head a shake, until constituents and voters actually push back, until the gun owners themselves realize, okay, this is bigger than just background checking. This is about, you know, the accessibility of these guns being sold and being just distributed like as if it's a candy or if it's like a liquor in a liquor store. Yeah, that's it for me tonight, folks. Be safe, be sober, be vigilant until we catch up again. It's Drew. I'm out. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week for the Wednesday Wagwan, the midweek catch up. All right. All right. Walk good and be safe.